Are there players in the NBA or in Europe that you see, familiarity with yourself?
Ben Simmons is Euro here, but he's doing amazing stuff. And LeBron, he was my idol. My family always told me I was 1 year old and I already had basketball ball, so I think it was the first moment, but I started playing football, basketball, handball, everything. I was bad at the other things, so I decided to play basketball.
When did you first realize that you had a chance to become potentially a star in the NBA? When did you first realize this was possible?
I think 2 years ago when I started to play with the senior teams and I saw I can play with them. When I was 16 years old, I can play with them.
What do you think are your best qualities as a player and what sets you apart from other great young players?
I can play in a lot of teams. I can play 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, so that's a advantage.
Remind us, bear down. And look, is he number 2 behind Ayton because talent-wise he should be number 2 behind Ayton? Or is he number 2 behind Ayton because there's still a little bit of nervousness about taking that guy like that number 1?
I think it's a question of ceiling with him because for Doncic, everybody believes in around the NBA, the floor is high. He's not going to bust. Yes. The question is, can he be a transcendental player? Is his athleticism going to hinder him from reaching the heights that an Ayton is capable of, even if he's produced more, even if he's more skilled than him?
Have you seen it shift? NBA fans be excited about him coming into the league?
Primarily because he's doing things in Europe that have never been done before. So he's got something like 22 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists per 36 minutes. That is unprecedented for a kid who's 19 years old. By Kevin Pelton's WARP projection, he is the most talented prospect ever in Europe or the United States.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, when the number that jumps...
It is the Phoenix Suns.
Yay!
Give it up for them.
Phoenix!
And the 2018 NBA Draft Lottery results as well. Phoenix Suns, the Sacramento Kings, and the Atlanta Hawks. So with that being said, someone who is considered to be, if not the number 1, at least a top 3 pick, is a guy named Luka Doncic. Now, Doncic is from Slovenia. He is now playing with Real Madrid. The Phoenix Suns went out of their way to go hire a guy named Igor Kokosov, who is from
Slovenia.
That is correct. So already you're seeing this.
Bill Duffy today, and he's headed over to the Final Four to see Luka. And listen, he is really focused on this Real Madrid season and winning a championship. If you watch this young player play at all, you know he's all about winning, and he has really tried to keep the distraction of the NBA away from his team. But they're going to have unique leverage come draft time because he can go back to Real Madrid on $1 million plus a year deal if he didn't love the team that selected him. So know this, by the time the draft comes in June, the teams at the top end of the lottery, they're going to know where they stand with Doncic. They're going to know whether they're a preferred destination or not. He may love everybody up there, but if there's somewhere he would rather not go, he could go back to Europe for a year. Now, the team would keep his rights if they picked him, but nobody wants to select a player who's not ready to come over.
Is the leverage more pre-draft for Doncic or post-draft with going back to Europe if he chooses to do that?
Well, it's pre-draft because you want to use the leverage to get drafted by a team you'd like to go to. But they haven't had those conversations yet. He's been focused on that Real Madrid season. And as Duffy said, they'll start to talk about some of those things as they get closer to June. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out here between now and then. What is this number 1 overall pick going to be for your organization?
It is difficult, and I think people are jumping to conclusions as far as, there's only 1 or 2 guys maybe in the mix for us. They're more than that, Woj. They're a handful of guys. We met with Marvin Bagley this week. here in Chicago, who, as you know, is a Phoenician. He's a local kid, like Deandre Ayton. Luka Doncic is obviously playing right now in the Euroleague Final Four. He has strong ties to our head coach and is one of the top young European players I've ever seen and I've ever scouted. And then there are guys like Mohamed Bamba and Michael Porter Jr. who have some unique high-level NBA skills and were considered some of the top high school players in their draft class. So we're going to spend as much time as possible with those group of players, and it's not limited to those 5 or so guys. But, we have a lead pack at the moment, but it's not an open and shut case for us.
Ryan, your mentor, Danny Ainge, who you came up with in pro basketball with the Celtics, had the number 1 pick last year, and I think legitimately identified Jason Tatum as his top player. He knew he could get him at 3. He moves down, gets another pick. Can you imagine a scenario where you may not be in line with the teams at 2 and 3, and you move back?
We're certainly open to that. We'll consider it. I think, obviously we'll have more information closer to the draft than we do today after we go through the workout process and the interview process and get the medical physicals. So we're open to that. I think if you look around the NBA as far as the veteran players, there are probably a few players we consider trading the pick for outright, just pick for player number 1. So it'll be a busy month for us. I've been in the league 15 or 16 years now and never been with a franchise that's had the number 1 pick. So it's a big responsibility, but especially in this draft with the talent at the top, one we look forward to, and it's going to be an exciting month in Phoenix.
Ryan, you also have the 16th pick in the draft that you acquired from Miami. What's the philosophy when you get into the teams there as far as best available, or do you go more in need? I know there's a little bit of a hole at point guard, but if there's a point guard there that maybe is not the best available, does that change your mind, or you just take the best available player?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we do at 16, Bobby, will be predicated with what we do at number 1, and it wouldn't make sense to draft guys at the same position or similar positions, probably at 1 and 16. So if we go, with a big at 1, it's probably a perimeter player at 16, or vice versa. Another option I think we may have available, given the number of assets we've accumulated, given the additional first-round picks we have coming from Milwaukee and Miami, and the 31st pick, the first pick in the second round, we'll look at packaging to move up potentially as well. If there's a player, somewhere in the mid to late lottery, say, that we like, we've done that in the past. We did it a few years ago for Marquise Chris, and we're certainly open to those scenarios as well.
The other significance of this coaching hire is that while his day job is coaching the Utah Jazz as an assistant, his night job is being the head coach for the Slovenian national team that won the 2017 Eurobasket tournament, FIBA Eurobasket tournament.
Any important players out of Slovenia, Kendall, that I'm forgetting?
Look, I mean, Goran Dragic is a nice player. Okay. In Miami, obviously the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, former Phoenix Sun, great.
Anthony Randolph, surprisingly was playing on that team. So if you're a Knicks fan,
I thought he was from Louisiana.
Look, man, I don't know where he was born. Maybe he has some Slovenian in his background. But, those 2 guys are nice. But the significance of that roster was that Luka Doncic, who is likely a top 3 pick in this NBA draft, might be number 1, was also in that roster and played spectacularly in that tournament. And he was coached by Kokosov. So with the Phoenix Suns being as dreadful as they were last season, and we'll have to see where the lottery balls fall out for this Phoenix Suns team. But you have to imagine, almost regardless of where they fall, they can't fall farther than 4. Will likely be in the top 2 or 3. That Doncic will be at the top of their draft board, and it would not even surprise me if they do whatever it takes to get the guy. So, I thought this was a very interesting hire. Lets you know, I think without a doubt, where Ryan McDonough and that front office, Robert Sarver, the owner, where they are leaning in terms of their draft pick.
Who's your number 1 pick? Well, for me, it's Deandre Ayton of Arizona, but it's not necessarily a no-brainer. And Mike Schmitz just made a great point when we were off air that doing their homework on Luka Doncic, Igor Kokosov coached them. They need to get a franchise player that they can build around for the future. And Woj just talked about the fact they have 3 picks, Phoenix does, in the first 31. That's the type of thing you can build for in the future and create a franchise that can be competitive for a long time. But you do it with this number 1 pick when you can have anybody you want. To me, Ayton is the number 1 pick, but Doncic makes a very good case being a 6'8" point guard that you can build around as well.
And right now we're going to bring in Jonathan Gavoni. And Mike Schmitz. Guys, your thoughts on the developments? Phoenix Suns looking pretty good right now at number 1.
Yeah, obviously a wild night here in Chicago with Sacramento getting into the top 2, Phoenix getting the first pick. Jonathan, what's your take on all this madness?
Well, I think it's a really interesting night, the way things develop. To me, this draft is going to be wide open at this stage. I think Ayton is the favorite at number 1, but I think they're going to take a strong look at Luka Doncic as well. And then at 2, it's going to be very interesting for me to see what Vlade Divac decides to do. I mean, he's a European GM. He's from Serbia. Luka Doncic's father is Serbian, so we're looking at a situation where he's not going to be afraid to take a guy like that. But really, who's going to be making this pick? Is it going to be Vlade? Is it going to be their owner, Vivek Ranadive? You really have to look at big guys here as well, with Marvin Bagley, with Jaren Jackson, maybe with Mohamed Bamba even. So I really think we have a wide open draft here, and it's going to be a very interesting process leading up to June 21st. I think there's still a lot yet to be decided.
I think it's still wide open, like Jonathan said. And I think that Doncic could fit in Sacramento with De'Aaron Fox as well. So that's going to be an interesting development.
College basketball analyst Fran Fraschillo keeps tabs globally. Fran, what more can you tell us about this 18-year-old Slovenian phenom?
Randy, think about it this way. If the NBA is the equivalent of the major leagues in baseball, college basketball would be AA, and the Euroleague, where Luka Doncic is currently playing, AAA. He has been playing at that level and playing a lot and now starring since he was 16 years old. He's going to turn 19 at the end of this month, but what he's doing at the second highest level of basketball in the world is unprecedented for European players. It didn't matter if it was Antetokounmpo, Porzingis, or even Dirk Nowitzki. No team, no player has ever done what he's doing. The best comparison I can give you is he's a combination, because he's not a great athlete, and that's the question. He's a combination of Gordon Hayward and Manu Ginobili. He's got Hayward's athletic ability, which obviously is good enough to be a star in the league. He's got Manu Ginobili's brain for the game, which is, that's a high compliment, I think, to give somebody.
And he knocks it down quite frequently. Bonica gets to the glass.
Change of point guard seems to be unsettling the team a little bit. Kosovac now having a turn at the point.
Muric banks it in. Probably won't be long to see AJ Slaughter again.
Dragic is going to take the team on his back now and try and extend this lead back out.
Dragic into the lane, goes inside out. What a pass. Doncic knocks it down. A phenomenal start from Slovenia. Doncic. So Randolph, lovely bounce pass and flushed.
Interesting to see how Slovenia break this. Will they look to try and find a perimeter shot?
Doncic for 3. Knocks it down. Hush loses out. And here comes Dragic, bounce pass to Doncic. Throws it down one-handed.
Beautiful transition basketball by Slovenia.
Starting sometimes goes under the radar, actually, with some of their bigger names, Kopanen and Markkanen. But Salin is so dependable. But now here comes Doncic. Moving through the gears. He's quick. And he puts it up and in.
I'm not sure if that was a pass or a shot, if I'm completely honest. It looked like an alley-oop pass.
Excellent work by Markkanen. Here is Wilson. Oh, we look for him, and it's been intercepted. And Doncic steadies himself. Doncic. Uses the screen set by Vidmar, puts it up and in.
Vidmar, and then when Vidmar comes out of the game, Barousis will come in for the Greeks. Smart strategy from Coach Missas.
Doncic from way downtown. Good! Goes out to Sasa Zagorac, thought about the 3, then went to Nikolic, and now Doncic again! And you can't stop Luka Doncic from the perimeter. It's good work by Papagiannis, but once again, Vidmar's there for the offensive rebound, and Doncic climbs and floats it in.
Right, he's definitely had an impact.
Oh, Doncic has found his range again. Makes it a 5-point game right at the... Doncic all the way. Oh, yeah. No move for Luka Doncic.
Beautiful play. Patience as he twists and turns his way inside the lane.
Sanchel for 3. What a follow that is from Doncic, and the scores Here we go then from Helsinki, Finland. And it's not taken long to get the first score. A matter of seconds for Jaka Blasic to tip in. Doncic. 13.7 per game, wide open three from the top, and he drains it.
In this second quarter, on both ends of the floor.
Shot clock down to three, Rebek's out to Doncic. He's going to have to go for it from way downtown, and he makes it.
Down, no option. He's a long, long way out from the basket to take that.
Nice play on the half. Doncic in possession. Going to try from range once more, and drains it again.
It's a huge way to finish the first half for Slovenia. Really emphasises how they've stepped up. All on his own, creating his own space, wagging a finger to say he knew that was going down the moment and he let it go. Big.